Oh, welcome into the Russ Joy Show. I'm Russ Joy. You figured that out because you're smart. It's also the name of the show. Welcome in on a marvelous Monday. I cannot believe it, and I'm sure you can't either. If you look at the calendar today, are you aware that it is now December? What kind of bullshit is it? December? It was just Halloween. December? What? Yeah, it's December. I can't believe it either. My mind is legitimately blown. I don't know how we've reached December already, but we have. Now, you may notice we have two additions to the setup today. One of them is an old friend who came out of the Christmas bin over the weekend as we decorated the house. Christmas Bucky, Nutcracker Bucky, is here. But you will also notice that over on this side, right here, is none other than a new friend, a new Christmas Bucky. Well, let's give him a little shout. There he is. Hello. So, new Christmas Bucky came in the mail because friend of the show, Andrew Fawcett, down there in Texas, sent a care package to the Joy family, and it included Christmas Bucky. So, Andrew Fawcett, first of all, thank you. Second of all, Merry Christmas. It is early, and we are almost there. 24 days till Christmas. It's insane. Unbelievable stuff. Now, I had a great Thanksgiving. I said last week, we might do one show, we might do two, we might do three. And I got through Monday, and I felt pretty good about Monday's show. And I said, let's rock and roll with a Wednesday. We'll see how Wednesday goes. We'll give it a shot. And Wednesday's show was perfectly fine, and I went kind of off the rails with a lot of takes on Thanksgiving. And then Friday rolled around. And I said, am I going to do a show leading into a three-peat, a triple header of Eagles and Flyers and Sixers? Am I going to do that? And I decided, no, of course not. That would be stupid. And so as I thought about how stupid it would be to do a triple header, I thought, well, it's especially going to be bad. Like if the Eagles lose to the Bears, well, then am I really going to want to do a show at all? Because all it's going to be is me yelling. And in fairness to all of you out there, you probably consumed a good amount of content over the weekend listening to people scream into the abyss about the Philadelphia Eagles. Maybe rationally, maybe irrationally so. But a lot of people screaming over the weekend about the Philadelphia Eagles. And so I, as a hopeful light off in the distance, right, as somebody who tries to just kind of cut through some of the noise and speak directly to you, fine folks at home or wherever you are right now, I try to be a little bit of the sense of reason around here. I try. Sometimes I succeed and sometimes I don't. I will tell you this right now. I am probably just as angry about the Philadelphia Eagles loss to the Bears as I was on Friday. I'm going to give you a few reasons that I'm so unbelievably frustrated with it, but we're going to try to approach it with a little bit of level-headedness, just a little bit. Not that the Eagles are deserving of level-headedness, not that they're deserving of me being fair to them after what we witnessed against the Bears. Yet another lackluster performance by the offense. Yet another opportunity for some weirdos on Twitter to go,
well, the defense gave up 20-plus points for earlier. The defense didn't come up big down the stretch.
They were on the field a metric F-ton of time. So I don't exactly blame the defense. We'll get to that in a little bit. Not ideal down the stretch, but let's be real. Kevin Patullo, a bum. Jalen Hurts, missing open receivers. Nick Sirianni, what is it that you would say you do around here? We've yet to get that answer. But we're going to get into all of it today. And we have to talk about your team, your tiny Philadelphia Flyers, went 3-1-0 on a 4-game road trip that I don't think a lot of people gave them much of a hope of getting more than a single win. Started with a loss against Tampa Bay, and they happened to go on a little bit of a run for themselves. Took down the Panthers, took down the Islanders, took down the Devils. A 3-1-0 road trip. And there's that whole thing about a very high percentage. If you are in a playoff spot coming out of Thanksgiving, more likely than not, you make the playoffs. This team is humming right along, a well-oiled machine. And that has been built in large part on that big old check back of Dan Vladar, a near point per game guy in Trevor Zegras, and a myriad of other players that we'll get to later on in the show. We might touch very briefly on your Philadelphia 76ers who fell in double overtime. Tyrese Maxey had a great game, 40-plus points, missed 2 free throws, not ideal. Okay. And we also have to talk a little bit we're going to get away from Philly for a little bit at one point on the show. And we're just going to talk about Lane Kiffin and what happened in college football. Because if you know me well, you know that I really don't care about college sports at all. I don't. I didn't grow up caring much about college sports. At this point in my life, I don't really care much about college sports. I'll watch the playoff. I watch March Madness. I watch the college football playoff. Maybe I'll watch some of the conference championship games. But I don't really care about college sports that much. You're not going to catch me watching two random ACC teams. I don't care.
Oh, there's a Big Ten.
I don't care. Don't care. Couldn't care less. But the Lane Kiffin story to me is something that is absolutely worthy of a little bit of attention here on a marvelous Monday. Now, before we get into all of it, and before I maybe sneeze all over my microphone, I hope I don't sneeze. I think I'm going to sneeze. Nailed it. Before we get into all that, I'm going to go down here to the bottom right side of the screen where the comments are going to be rolling in, and they are, across YouTube especially right now. But you can comment as well over on Facebook. And if you're on X, remember, you have to click the video first, go into old Periscope mode, and then you can comment from there. But let's go over to the comments here really quick, and then we're going to talk about the Eagles. We'll talk about the Flyers, maybe a little bit of Sixers, and definitely get to Lane Kiffin. Oh, and we're going to try to wrap up here in 28 or so minutes. We'll see if we can get it done. Can we? Probably not. Will we try? Maybe. Fawcett is here. Says, greetings. I can only stay for a couple minutes, but wanted to say hello. Smash the like button. Thank you, Fawcett. And again, these two beautiful Buc-ee's nutcrackers, these buck crackers, not butt crackers, buck crackers, brought to you by the fine folks at Buc-ee's. Andrew Fawcett. Fantastic stuff. AJ says, really betting up against school dismissal, aren't we? Yeah. Today was a busy day, I will tell you. If you're in Missouri, legal online sports betting officially launched in your state at midnight Central Time. And so that has been a big old focus of my attention for the past 2 weeks. And now that the launch has happened, I feel significantly better. It's a great thing. The OG, JH, says, what blackmail material does Patullo have on Nick and Lurie? We'll get there in a second. Hexram is here. Says, hi, Russ. Love you, Russ. Hey. How you doing, Hexram? Fawcett says, Patullo has pictures. OGJH says, Patullo has the real P-tape? Let's see. Talking about the speed at which the year is going. Hate it, Russ. The last 3 months have gone by so fast. I think everything is legitimately just kind of melting together. It's like a little hodgepodge, and it's all gotten like combined into one of those fondue pots, the melting pot or whatever. And that's what the last few months have been. And I can't stand it because I love Thanksgiving. An unreasonable amount. I made a brisket. We talked about this. I made a brisket. I smoked a turkey. We roasted a turkey. The smoked turkey trailed a little bit. About 10 minutes after we started eating, the smoked turkey was rested and came out. And it was lovely. The brisket was the hit. We'll probably do it again next year. We had so much food, and I don't know what it was this Thanksgiving. The food was fantastic. It's always fantastic. For some reason this year, I only had one plate of food. I had no dessert, and I went to bed that night. And like usually I do the ritual, hot turkey sandwich, mashed potatoes, corn, gravy, maybe a little bit of stuffing, some cranberry sauce at like 8 o'clock at night on Thanksgiving. I think the Eagles killed my hunger. I think the Eagles killed my appetite. Maybe even my appetite for life on Thursday. I'm not sure. But it was the least I've ever eaten on a Thanksgiving. I guess that's why I'm officially down 1.5 pounds since Thanksgiving, like before we even ate on Thanksgiving. So I don't know what to make of that, but it was really good food. JH says, screw the Birds for stealing the Black Friday game and shitting the bed at home. You know who won? The Flyers. Sell the team. Screw the Birds. Go Birds. Chris Freed says, the King, Howard Eskin, is proclaiming the Flyers to be the next team to win a championship in Philly. Is this a whopper or is this legit, Russ? No, that's not legit. It's insane. The Eagles still have the best chance. I don't think the Phillies really have much of a chance of winning a championship, but I guess you'd put them ahead of the Flyers. The Sixers have no shot. Joel Embiid looks shot. I don't know what to make of it. I'm very disappointed. Ford is here. Drove to and from Gatlinburg and Nashville and was away for a week. Not great timing for the episode, but he's here. Thank you, Ford. Thank you for being here. Ford also, by the way, was at a Buc-ee's and texted me the other day asking if there was anything I wanted. And I was like, I think that there's supposed to be like a Buc-ee's Christmas inflatable for the yard. My wife is anti inflatables on the lawn. But she's like, if it's a Buc-ee's inflatable, we'll do it. Ford could not find a Christmas Buc-ee's inflatable. So we still thank him for his attempts, his hard work, his dedication to the program. AJ asks, still no offensive coordinator firing. What are they doing? Oh, we're going to get there in a second. Don't worry. Chris Reed says, speaking of Eskins, it appears Joel Embiid has lost Spike Eskin. This is like Cronkite going negative on Nam. Say it ain't so. Yeah. I saw some stuff today. It did look like it was trending a little bit more negative. I think it's about the way that the Sixers continue to try to like market or go public with like his right knee injury, and they haven't really given anything, and it's been a total disaster. Let's see. Hold on. Fawcett says, I sent you something Sixers on Instagram. All right, now I gotta go over it. Gotta make me go to Instagram. All right, I'll try to figure it out while things are going on. What could possibly go wrong? I'm trying to switch between apps. Nothing could possibly go wrong. All right, let's keep going. Amadeus here says it's already been a year since we joined forces. Amadeus been quite the addition to the team here at Joy Media, to the Russ Joy Show, as well as Snow the Goalie and everything else. Let's see. Fawcett, I don't see what you sent me. So you have to let me know. Or maybe you meant on Twitter. Could that have been a Twitter DM? I don't see it. I'll have to look. Okay. Let me go back and let's get into it. Let's talk about what in the world is happening with the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, I know that there's this thought out there that the Eagles are going to hell in a handbasket and that the season is lost and that all hope is gone. Okay. I get it. I'm not fully there with you yet. But there was one really disappointing thing that came out of Friday. I don't even want to get into the game itself. We're 3 days removed. Everything has been talked out. Everything there is to say about the actual game itself, I think, has pretty much been touched on. But there's one thing that I really, really just have not been able to shake. And it was a Nick Sirianni quote from after the game. Because Nick Sirianni said something that was so incredibly stupid and so incredibly tone deaf and so incredibly cognitively dissonant, it blew my mind. Nick Sirianni is in a really weird spot. He's led the Eagles to 2 Super Bowls in 3 years. He led them to a Super Bowl win last year. And it's weird because sometimes you get people that say, well, Sirianni had nothing to do with the Super Bowl win. It was just a very talented team. Howie Roseman did it again. He's incredible, right? Okay. The head coach has something to do with it. It is absolutely insane to say he had nothing to do with 2 Super Bowl appearances and a Super Bowl win. That's just trying to fit a narrative, right? That's crazy. And it's not true. Is Nick Sirianni the sole reason the Eagles have won a Super Bowl? No. Do I think that if the Eagles replaced Nick Sirianni with another very good coach, this team would be perfectly fine, go into the playoffs, and have themselves a hell of a run? I do. But that's not to say that Sirianni's a bum. I don't think he is. I do think that there are some concepts that Sirianni has had for a few years now that we have seen struggles with. And I am starting to wonder how much of the execution and the actual issues themselves fall on the quarterback, who I very much believe in and who has outplayed Patrick Mahomes in 2 Super Bowls. Like, I have a very hard time saying that all of this is Jalen Hurts' fault. And the fact that the offense has looked like dog doo-doo coming out of the bye week the last few weeks, I can't say that it's all on Hurts, but I do think Hurts has something to do with it. There is a part of me that thinks that Hurts is so risk-averse that he is missing opportunities. And we see that he still has a good touch on the deep ball, so I don't think it's that. But it feels like he is just so hesitant to throw into traffic. And he's got enough of an arm to get there. He has the ability to execute. To me, it's just kind of, it's beyond me right now. I don't know what's going on with the Eagles, and it's disappointing. Now, I can't find, I was looking for the audio because it had me pissed off. And I can't, I got it. Here we go. I've got the quote. So after the game, Eagles look absolutely listless. They look absolutely devoid of any life in any meaningful way. Nick Sirianni goes up to the podium And he says, we're going to evaluate everything. We're going to evaluate it all. And then he says one thing, and it's one thing that he says within like 2 seconds that pissed me off to no end. Here's Nick Sirianni after the loss to the Bears on Black Friday. After saying that everything is up for evaluation, he then gets asked directly about the offensive coordinator, the play caller. Here we go.
We're not changing the play caller.
Okay, let's go back to that again.
We're not changing the play caller.
We're not changing the play caller. Okay. Doug Peterson once said they're not changing the play caller. Doug Peterson got fired. I'm not saying that it is a done deal that now that Nick Sirianni went out after a game and said, we're not changing the play caller. I'm not saying that it means that Nick Sirianni is about to fall into the same trap that Doug Peterson did and that within the next year or so, Sirianni is going to be gone. I'm not saying that. I think that that was a very bold proclamation and it was a stupid one to make for a few reasons. One, when you go into that game on Friday, you know that while your job may not be on the line, you know that there's a lot of scrutiny. And I would assume that somebody within the Eagles organization made it pretty clear to Nick Sirianni that this has to get fixed. This has to get better. The offense has to look better. I mean, if nothing else, even if you don't win the game, the offense has to look better. Or we have to have a conversation about your offensive coordinator. This, to me, felt like Sirianni kind of giving the stiff arm to Howie Roseman. Maybe giving the stiff arm to Jeffrey Lurie, because you would assume Jeffrey Lurie doesn't want to fully meddle in the coaching staff decisions. And you would hope that to some extent, Howie Roseman, who gave the green light, presumably, to the internal promotion of Kevin Patullo, you would like to imagine he's not trying to meddle in things. However, when you have an offense that is as talented as this Eagles offense is and continues to go out and put up 15, 16, maybe 20 points a game, it's not good enough. And I have to imagine that there was a conversation going into that game. If this doesn't work out, we're going to have a conversation. Sorry, Nick. Might be a tough conversation, but you might have to have it. Sirianni coming out after that game, a woeful performance, and saying, we're not changing the play caller. To me, that was almost like it's almost like a Richard measuring contest. A Richard Cheney measuring contest. What exactly are you trying to get out of it if you're Sirianni? You're trying to fall on the sword for your boy, Kevin Patullo. And maybe it's not Kevin Patullo's fault. Maybe it is Jalen Hurts' fault. And maybe Nick Sirianni knows he can't go out and publicly say that it's Jalen Hurts' fault. And so he's now going to fall on the sword for his pal, Kevin Patullo. But I'm sorry. I may be an idiot, and I may talk into a microphone, and I may not be the guy who could break down the X's and O's the way that a lot of other people can, that get paid every day to do that. But when you get those intelligent people, and some of those national media pundits that have played in the NFL before, and they say, this offense is too simplistic and predictable, well, that makes me start to question things. Because when they all say the same thing, when they all say route concepts are too simple, when they all say, this looks like an elementary offense, this looks like something you wouldn't even run in high school, this is a pathetically uncreative offense, that makes me think. And then it got worse because after the game, CJGJ, remember CJGJ? Love CJGJ. He went over on to Speakeasy, LaShawn McCoy and Emmanuel Acho's podcast. And he joined them from the locker room. And there was one standout clip that sent me through the roof. We're going to go out and listen to CJGJ. Now remember, I like CJGJ. I have no idea why it seems like the Eagles soured on him twice. I will simply point out that both times CJGJ was on the Eagles went to the Super Bowl. The year that they got rid of him the first time, the entire thing fell apart. I'm not saying it's all falling apart right now. CJGJ ain't here. Emmanuel Acho and LaShawn McCoy had a very interesting question for CJGJ about his former team and about that offense that we've heard is very predictable. And I just want you to pay attention to what CJ. We're going to give Gardner Johnson a lot of credit here. He didn't bury his former team. He respects his former team. Let's go ahead and just have a little listen for a second, because he says two things that I like, and then one thing that makes me want to scream. All right, let's go out. CJGJ, how we doing?
Oh, here we go. I said, I know you was going crazy after that win. I knew you was going crazy. Hey, we should never let him go. I said that. We should never let this.
LaShawn McCoy's right. They shouldn't have let go of CJGJ. I don't know what the deal is. I don't know if it's a Vic Fangio thing. I don't know if it's a Nick Sirianni thing. I don't know if it's a Howie Roseman thing. I don't know if it's all of the above. Felt like a mistake to get rid of him the first time. It certainly feels like a mistake to get rid of him the second time. And I know you could say, well,
That's his third team in the same season, so obviously there's a.
okay, fine. He's a winner. He wins. But we'll get back to him.
Go. You said that. You said that. You said that. Hey, was you talking shit out there, though?
No, I got too much respect for them to even disrespect the player that I play with, but it's like more so.
Okay.
If we disrespected them on defense, though.
All right, so I like that. He has enough respect for the team. He wasn't talking shit. He's just getting his job done. All right. Here's where it gets really ugly. If you're Nick Sirianni, if you're Kevin Petullo.
Hey, now, look at him. Go ahead. Was the offense too easy? Predictable? Speak your truth. Speak your truth.
Yeah. For those of you who are listening in the podcast feed and can't see this, we're just going to do a little slow-mo breakdown here. He's asked, was the offense too easy? Big eyes, and then a smile and a wink, which is the nicest way to say, yeah, it's a fucking disaster. Kevin Petullo is an idiot, and Nick Sirianni is empowering him to run a bullshit, bland offensive concept week in and week out. He's got a Ferrari in terms of talent on the offense, and he's driving it like it's a Volkswagen Jetta. That might be a nice car. You want to go Toyota Corolla? We'll go Toyota Corolla. Nice car. It's not a Ferrari. CJGJ. Just run it back there a second. Just run it back with the question.
Go ahead. Was the offense too easy? Predictable? Speak your truth. Speak your truth.
A former player from the Philadelphia Eagles, a guy who helped the Eagles make 2 Super Bowls and win 1, who said he won't shit talk the team on the field because he respects his former teammates too much. He gets asked post-game, was the Eagles' offense too easy to predict? He smiles and he winks. That's about as damning as it gets. If you want to sit back and say, hey, Dan Orlovsky doesn't know what he's talking about. If you want to say Ben Solak doesn't know what he's talking about. Brian Baldinger doesn't know what he's talking about. You want to say all that? You have a player who is in your building, 2 separate seasons, 2 trips to the Super Bowl, and when asked, is the offense too easy? He smiles into the camera and winks. That's an indictment of this coaching staff. And while some people want to blame Jalen Hurts and want to say this is all Jalen Hurts' fault, he's missing basic reads. He's flat out just like not executing at a high level. Oh, here's a screenshot of 2 guys looking like they might be coming open. He missed Dallas Goedert. He threw behind a receiver. That's not, CJGJ is not winking because Jalen Hurts isn't executing at a high level. He's smiling and winking because it's a fucking joke. So either Kevin Petullo is a dolt, Nick Sirianni is a dolt, or they're both dolts. I would want to believe that your head coach is not a dolt. But this is the second internal hire where when handed the keys to a Ferrari, the offensive coordinator can't seem to get anything going. But when Shane Steichen was here, when Kellen Moore was here, the same head coach was in place. And you can say the same overarching concepts were there. But the Eagles went to 2 Super Bowls. 2 Super Bowls. And looked like a dynamic offense. So what's different? What changed? I could give Kevin Petullo 1 out, other than if it's Sirianni's fault. The offensive line has been dog shit this year. It's been bad. And this offensive line got dog walked by the Bears on Black Friday. I mean, there are multiple instances where if you go back and you watch the film, and again, very smart people did a lot of film breakdown over the weekend. You see Jordan Mailata missing assignments. You see interior linemen missing assignments. you see an offensive line that is overmatched. I continue to wonder aloud, as I did all offseason, why the Eagles didn't pony up a little bit of money for Mekhi Becton. Because the replacements haven't been good. And yeah, Lane Johnson's out. And yeah, I know historically the Eagles have been a bad team when Lane Johnson's out of the lineup. He's one guy, and he's not blocking your quarterback's blind side anymore. I'm sorry, it's not good enough. I saw people want to blame Jeff Stoutland. Is he not coaching these guys up? Well, virtually all of the guys on the offensive line have been in this organization for multiple years. I don't think that the coaching all of a sudden has changed. I think the execution has gotten worse. I think that Cam Jurgens has been hurt a lot of this year. I think Landon Dickerson has been hurt a lot of this year. I don't know what's up with Mailata. He hasn't looked nearly as dominant. You have Fred Johnson in for Lane Johnson. Yes, they're both a Johnson, but they're not the same level of Johnson. Steen, I think, has been awful. So put all these things together, and it is going to cause problems. Here's the one other, the counter to that, though. The run blocking has been bad. We do know that. Saquon Barkley has not had a lot of holes to run at. Tank Bigsby, who looked pretty explosive last week, had 0 touches. Tank Bigsby did not have an opportunity to make a big play against the Bears, which seems crazy. I'd probably put that on the offensive coordinator. The run blocking has not been good. In the pass game, yeah, there are times where the pocket collapses and Jalen Hurts has to throw from the run. But he's also had a lot of opportunities where he's got a pretty clean pocket, 4 or 5 seconds to make a throw, and he's not executing. I think this is just bad. I think the entire thing is rotten to the core. And the fact that Nick Sirianni continues to say, we're not going to make a change. We're not making a change at offensive coordinator. We're not making a change at the play caller. I'm sorry, that's not good enough. And we'll come back to it later this week. I actually saw Sirianni's talking while the show is going on. And John Clark did this transcription about 10 minutes ago. Quote, "We're evaluating everything. We'll think about some different things that we want to do all over the place, scheme, everything." Changing the scheme, I don't even know what to make of that. Has the scheme been the same all these years? I don't know. And then he said, apparently, quote, "We want to get this thing fixed more than anyone." Yeah, because your job is probably to some extent on the line. The 2 opportunities he's had to hire from within, to promote from within, those seasons have been abject failures. A lot of this falls at the feet of the head coach. Now, again, we will be back on the Eagles later this week. We have some other stuff that we have to touch on here before the show ends. Ford says, just imagine what Chip Kelly could do with this roster, with a winking face. I mean, I think it would be bad. I can't say that it would be great, but it is kind of a mess. Could Chip Kelly do better? Maybe. Amadeo says, the problem is Howie and Lurie should be meddling because Sirianni has already proven he can't hire coordinators. I think that's right. Here's the one thing. This is my last thing on the Eagles today. Amadeo, get ready for your little clipping, John. Nick Sirianni has had multiple opportunities to hire from within, to promote from within. He did it previously with Brian Johnson. It was a disaster. Absolute disaster. On the defensive side of the ball, when the defense was collapsing, he had hired Sean Desai, or he had brought up Sean Desai. Abject failure. They removed the third down play calling ability for Sean Desai. Within a week or two, he essentially got demoted from being defensive coordinator. Matt Patricia came in and was also a failure. It was horrible. And you might say to yourself, well, isn't that proof enough that you can't make a change at a coordinator position this late in the season if you're trying to be a playoff team? Well, Nick Sirianni is not a defensive-minded guy. Nick Sirianni isn't a guy who cut his teeth in this league as a defensive mind. He's supposed to be the guy who's installing the concepts for the offense, is supposed to be a good offensive mind, maybe not a brilliant offensive mind, but a competent one at the very least. So if you're going to make a change at play caller or offensive coordinator, but maybe just play calling, maybe you don't want to fully emasculate Kevin Patullo and kill his opportunity to ever be an offensive coordinator again. Well, maybe you start by taking away third down play calling duties from Kevin Patullo. Or maybe, if you're Nick Sirianni, you need to take over as the play caller. The difference between the Sean Desai thing and this Kevin Patullo thing is Sirianni's supposed to be a good offensive mind. He's supposed to be a guy who could call a game. He's done it before. If he doesn't do it, is that proof that he's afraid to become a play caller? Is he afraid to have full responsibility for whatever does or does not work with this offense? I don't know. I have a lot of questions there. And if you're Howie Roseman, if you're Jeffrey Lurie, and you're looking around going, all right, what is it exactly that this guy does? Because he doesn't do anything with the defense. He doesn't really do anything with special teams. He's supposed to be the offensive guy. If he doesn't take the responsibility here, right? And if he doesn't get things moving in the right direction, then what the hell is the point of Nick Sirianni as the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles? And we could say all of that, knowing damn well he's gotten them to 2 Super Bowls. But accountability is the thing. This roster is too talented, is too stacked to appear to be careening towards the edge of a cliff. And while there's an outside chance that the Cowboys could catch up to the Eagles in the NFC East, I don't think they will. And thanks to the Rams losing to the Panthers, you're only a game back of both the Bears and the Rams. There is a chance that the Eagles could get back into the number 1 overall seed conversation, home field advantage throughout the playoffs. If you're Howie Roseman, Jeffrey Lurie, you probably tell Nick Sirianni it's time to nut up or shut up. It's got to happen sooner than later. All right, now, move on from that. Let's go over really quickly to your team, your town, your Philadelphia Flyers. 3-1-0 in their last 4 games. Riding in a large part, in a large way, on the back of Dan Vladar. But we are actually going to give, I know this is going to seem like a shocker, we're actually going to give Sam Ersson a little bit of credit here. We're going to give him some flowers, just a little bit, a wee bit. Because as we all know, Sam Ersson stinks unless he gets to a shootout. And when the Flyers managed to topple the Islanders on Black Friday and get a sour taste of the Eagles' loss out of our mouths, it was Sam Ersson who came up large once again in the shootout. He is undefeated this season in shootouts. He has been absolutely sensational. I mean, it's the only time he's really good. He finished with a .903 save percentage on the night. And while I think Sam Ersson has largely been piss poor, he's 54th in the NHL in save percentage at .859. He's 38th in the league with a 3.09 goals against. He's 4-2-2 on the season. All 4 wins have come in the shootout. Shootouts have all of a sudden become a strength of the Philadelphia Flyers. And we have to acknowledge that a large part of that is because of Sam Ersson's ability in net in those shootouts. Now, the guy who's the bona fide stud and the number 1 netminder on this team, Dan Vladar, well, he really is the one who probably deserves the most credit for everything good that's happening in Philadelphia. But I would once again say there are 2 people right now who are getting it done if you are the Philadelphia Flyers. One is Dan Vladar. Entering Monday night's game against the hated cross-state rival Pittsburgh Penguins, Dan Vladar is tied for 10th in the NHL with a .912 save percentage. He has a 2.43 goals against average. He has been sensational. 10-4-1 on the season. Looks every bit like a bona fide number 1 stud. He has played in 15 games, and as we've said a million times on this show and over on Snow the Goalie, the most games he's ever played in a single season is 30, which he played in the 2024-2025 season. He is now halfway to reaching the most games he's ever played in a season. I don't want to say that this is a real thing and then jinx it, but I do have to say that to this point, Vladar has been so much better than anything anybody could have expected. The next time I see Danny Briere at a Flyers game, I will ask, it might be tonight, might be when he comes up the elevator tonight. I may have a conversation with him about, all right, what exactly did you think you were getting out of Dan Vladar? I cannot imagine under any circumstances it was for Vladar to come in and be like a top 10 guy in goals against and save percentage. And yet here we are. Now, have the Flyers had a ton of come from behind victories? They have. Is that a winning formula? Not exactly. On the offensive side of things, Matvei Michkov is starting to look more like himself. Now, will he ever actually catch up, right? The whole thing is that he started the season behind conditioning-wise. Will he ever catch up? I don't know. I would say that if Michkov is able to play at whatever level he's at right now and continue to get better and better going into the Olympic break in February, well, I think he could theoretically catch up conditioning-wise, that when you come out of the Olympics in late February, he's ready to go on an absolute tear into March and maybe even into April. The guy that we all have to focus on, though, the guy that absolutely deserves every bit of adulation from this team, from this fan base, is Trevor Zegras. Zegras is nearly a point-per-game guy right now. He's got 24 points so far in the season. He has been nothing short of phenomenal. He's been an absolutely incredible addition to this team. And it feels like anytime Rick Tocchet needs to get somebody going, The guy that he turns to more than anyone else is Trevor Zegras. So we are going to dive into that tonight on the Press Row Show. We'll get more into Trevor Zegras. We'll get more into Dan Vladar. But those are the two guys right now that you have to say, beyond a shadow of a doubt, have been the most impactful for the team this year. And so you have to give a lot of credit to Danny Briere, because Briere pretty much went perfect this offseason in terms of guys that he brought in through trades and free agency. If you want to add to Zegras and Vladar, you want to throw in Christian Dvorak, he's been a really solid addition to the team. He's allowed at different points the Flyers to kind of shelter Trevor Zegras a little bit and play that hybrid role. So you got to give Dvorak a lot of credit. Noah Juulsen's actually been a pretty good addition to this team. I don't think that ultimately he's going to be a difference maker for them, but he's been okay. Briere had a good offseason. And for an offseason where there were really no expectations of him going out and doing anything impactful, the fact that you've gotten a point-per-game guy in Zegras and a potential number one in Dan Vladar, hell of an offseason. We'll see how this goes over the next few weeks, but it's been very, very good. All right, last thing I want to get to is what the hell happened. Actually, you know what? Hold on. I forgot to bring this up. We're going to do a public service announcement, okay? And this goes back to the Eagles really quickly because I saw this and it pissed me off, okay? If you're a disgruntled fan, okay, if you're upset with a coach, if you're upset with a player, if you're upset with whatever, remind yourself that it's a game. Remind yourself that it's not real life. It's not among the most important things going on in your life. And if it is, you need to reevaluate your life's priorities. There's a video going around TikTok and Twitter right now of what sounds like maybe high school, college-age kids pelting Kevin Patullo's house with either eggs or stones. On TikTok, it says eggs. On Twitter, it said stones. But I want you to see this really quickly because this, to me, is part of what's wrong with fandom right now, okay? This apparently, purportedly, is Kevin Patullo's house. We don't know that for sure. We have not done the investigative reporting here at the Russ Joy Show. But this has been described as Kevin Patullo's house, and this is what some dimwits decided to do. They either threw eggs or stones at Kevin Patullo's house. I don't care how bad an offensive coordinator is. I don't care how bad a coach is. I don't care how bad a player plays. You don't egg their house. You don't throw stones at their house. And I don't remember off the top of my head if Kevin Patullo has kids. But can you imagine if you're a little kid, right? And you already know that people aren't happy with your dad. They're not happy with the job your dad's doing. And then in the middle of the night, you wake up to the sound of something hitting your house, hitting your window. That's not fair. If there are kids in that house, unfair. Even for Kevin Patullo, if he's got a spouse, whatever, it is not fair to go to somebody's house and egg it or stone it because you're upset with the job that a coach is doing. Okay. Last thing I wanted to get to, because coaching really has been at the forefront of a lot of things right now. Lane Kiffin. And we don't have a lot of time to dive into Lane Kiffin and his decision and the elongated decision-making process. But Lane Kiffin firmly cemented himself as the number one heel in all of college football, deciding to leave a playoff-bound Ole Miss team for LSU. Now, on the surface, even as somebody who doesn't really care about college football, I understand that LSU is a significantly bigger, more prestigious program. And Ole Miss got built into a potential powerhouse. I mean, Lane Kiffin is leaving a very strong program. Is he going to poach players and coaches? Oh, it very much appears so. And is that going to potentially drop Ole Miss from being a potential national championship contender to something below that? Yeah. But Lane Kiffin decided to make the decision to go chase, I think it was $13 million a year, to go be the head coach at LSU, where there will be a treasure trove of assets, where he will have significantly more money to play with from donors or from whoever else to go into the portal and acquire as many players as he wants. And there's also a very strong talent pool in Louisiana to kind of poach anyway. Lane Kiffin did an absolutely no-brainer football decision, something that anybody, I think, in his position would have done, at least if you're evaluating programs and the upside of things. Now, I heard some college football pundits today say, this is a move that you make because you think that at this point in your life, you are ready to take on the pressure that LSU can bring. And I heard today on, I think it was First Take, the idea that Kiffin is trying to become Nick Saban, that he thinks he's going to be able to build a perennial powerhouse, a multi-time national championship program like Nick Saban did with Alabama. And they might be right. He might be right. He also might be wrong. The thing that I find not shocking, but definitely a little bit eye-opening is I didn't think that fans in the Ole Miss fans were going to be happy to see Lane Kiffin go. But the extent to which they went to kind of flip him the double bird on the way out, that was a little bit surprising. This is video of Lane Kiffin getting on the plane from Oxford to go down or to go out to LSU. This is the final lasting image, the final lasting video of Lane Kiffin leaving a team that was college football playoff bound, where he apparently tried to negotiate the ability to stay on and coach and was told, absolutely not, you're leaving us, go pound sand. This is the final image of Lane Kiffin leaving for LSU. Got some pissed off fans. Now, if we look at this objectively, we could say, why are Ole Miss fans even upset? I mean, like, yes, it sucks to lose a guy who built the program up to what he did. And yeah, the narrative going over the weekend that he had given ultimatums to his coaching staff, you're either on the plane with me or there won't be a job for you at LSU. If that were to turn out to be true, that is pretty shitty. It's a bad look. Do the fans owe appreciation to Lane Kiffin for turning that program around, for building it into what it is now? I don't know. I can understand if you're a college kid and you're looking at it, maybe you're a freshman or a sophomore and you're going, yo, we're going to have multiple years of a deep playoff run. This is awesome. And then you get hit with the swift reality that like, yeah, it's probably about to not crater. I don't think Ole Miss is going to become an unranked team next year, but their championship window has probably now come close to closing unless there's a massive blowback and players are not going to decommit. And maybe there's some player who decides, you know what, I want to go help that Ole Miss program reach to the next level. I think it's probably a safe bet to assume that Ole Miss won't be the same team next year. I'm not shocked that people went to the airport, flipped him the double bird, sent him on his way. But there is a small part of me that goes, I think Kiffin went about it the wrong way. I think that he went about this very long stretch of apparently trying to negotiate coaching Ole Miss in the playoff. I think that entire thing went way too long. It was, at the very least, problematic. I guess he shouldn't be surprised that fans are as upset as they are. Now, if Lane Kiffin had been able to negotiate with Ole Miss to coach through the playoff and they win the national championship and then he leaves, I think fans are still upset. But they're probably not quite as upset because he won the national championship. But he wasn't given that opportunity. Does that make him a victim? No. Does that make him the ultimate villain? I'm also not so sure that it is, because even though he's leaving and even though he made it known that he was going to be leaving for LSU, their best chance of winning the national championship was with Lane Kiffin as their head coach. So that athletic director decided, kind of in a way, to kneecap his own team on principle this year. Is it right? Is it wrong? We'll see. We'll see if that team rallies. So again, I don't know. I don't know how it's going to play out. I don't know how Ole Miss is going to look in the playoff. But I found it very interesting that we have a true number one heel in college football, and we'll see how the Tigers do next year. All right, now I'm going to head out. We will be back on Wednesday with the Russ Joy Show. Do me a favor if you haven't done so already. Like the video, share the video, subscribe, ring the bell so you get notified whenever we go live with an episode. If you find short-form content on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, give those videos a like as well. And do me a favor. If you like the podcast feed, go subscribe over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, Amazon Music, wherever you get your podcasts. I will talk to many of you in about like 2 hours or so down at the Press Row Show from the Xfinity Mobile Arena over on the Snow the Goalie channels. For those of you that I don't talk to tonight, I will talk to all of you Wednesday here on the Russ Joy Show. Until then, this has been the Russ Joy Show, and I've been Russ Joy, but you knew that already because you're smart, and it's also the name of the show. I really got to go, or I'm going to be late for the Press Row Show. Talk to each and every one of you very soon. Bye now.